science fiction. We make no guarantees, however, how long it will remain fiction. Fiction. Fiction.
Overstimulated salutations. I'm Mike, and welcome to Exofathom. Tonight, I am joined with my lovely co-host, as always, Nick and Ayla. How's Monday?
What's up, man? It's not too bad, you know. Just a Monday, just a day.
It's the most Monday I've ever had.
Is it a manic Monday, or is it no? It's just Monday.
No,
Monday
I never have manic Mondays. I kind of have Garfield Mondays, not manic Mondays.
I could say it's a manic Monday. I'm still riding this migraine that started on Saturday, in addition to the neck pain and the swelled ankle. So I've been trying to cheer myself up. So I go back and forth from crippling pain to chipper.
Well, I have something to cheer you up. We're going to talk about major depression.
Oh my god!
Sounds about accurate.
Isn't it uplifting?
It is.
Oh yeah.
It's the perfect end for 2020.
Yeah.
It's what we all get for Christmas.
Well, you know, I came across a meme today and it was listing out like symptoms of depression, and I was like, damn, like that really closely resembles what I'm going through here with this migraine. I was like, am I depressed? Huh? And I was like doing a self-reflection, like I don't know anymore. So maybe, but yeah, it should be informative.
Yeah, definitely. Well, with winter coming around, things are going to kind of get bluesy for everyone. So there is a little
I just
bluesy.
picture us like singing the blues at the end of the year.
Sitting on a stoop playing the harmonica.
Hey, I can play guitar. I'm down for that.
Simpler times.
I got a
It's
piano.
like the only genre I know how to play.
We will be
piano
the
works
worst blues group ever.
Dude, actually, I think we would be pretty good. Our lyrics would be ripping.
Everybody has to start somewhere. Right?
Yeah, I know. I feel like 50 years old. Ripping? Who says that anymore?
You didn't have to point it out.
Well, I did, because people are thinking it. And, you know, sometimes if you just acknowledge, it's okay.
Awesome. So today I'm going to talk about light and sound and its weird workings with, I guess, depression. But first, I want to get into seasonal affective disorder,
AKA sad.
AKA sad, which seems like it's almost fake. It makes it almost not a real thing. But then you also have things like social anxiety disorder, which is also sad.
It just makes me think of the Office episode where they do the safety training and Michael Scott's like, seasonal affective disorder, aka SAD. It affects thousands of Americans each year.
Well, the best part that you're missing out, though, is that he's trying to pretend and front like his safety lecture is harder than the warehouse safety instruction. Because, like, yeah, he's just trying to make it really terrible so that he can prove his toughness compared to them. And it's a genius episode, really.
Nice. Well, I don't watch The Office, so it's kind of lost on me. I'm sorry.
It's so good. It takes like a long time to get into it, though. I tell you what.
Here, you want to hear my hipster, my crown jewel of hipsterness?
I like the British Office better.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah, I got one even better.
Oh, no.
I haven't had cable or a TV in like 2 years.
You got a laptop?
Well, you don't need. I mean, you can watch Netflix on your laptop. So
yeah.
I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu, and I lived like a year and a half without internet at my house at all.
Are you the Unabomber? Damn.
Again, weird. There's
no,
my
that's
anarcho
good, though. You read
days.
books.
Yeah, books are good.
Yeah.
All right, but let's jump into this.
That's true. See, the thing is I had to explore all that was on the different platforms to then be really bored and then go back to books. So I don't have the what the kids call the FOMO. Yes, I don't have
the
that.
fear of missing out.
Yes.
Did you just purposely pretend like you didn't know how to say that word?
I did.
That was
awesome. Now you get to pick.
Yes.
The seasonal affect disorder is a form of depression, also known as SAD, that affects thousands of Americans a year. No, I'm just- seasonal depression or winter depression, or also known as seasonal depression or winter depression. In the DSM-5 or the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders, this disorder is identified as a type of depression, major depressive disorder with seasonal pattern. People with SAD experience mood changes and symptoms similar to depression. The symptoms usually occur during the fall and winter months when there's less sunlight and usually improve with the arrival of spring. Now that less sunlight, it will be important for later. The most difficult months for people with SAD in the United States tend to be January and February. While it is much less common, some people experience SAD in the summer. SAD is much more than winter blues. The symptoms can be distressing and overwhelming and can interfere with daily functioning. To a certain extreme, it can also lead to like suicide at the worst case. SAD has been linked to biochemical imbalance in the brain prompted by shorter daylight hours and less sunlight in the winter. As seasons change, people experience a shift in their biological internal clock or circadian rhythm. So the melatonin link too is also going to be important. That can cause them to be out of step with their daily schedule. SAD is more common in people living far from the equator where there are fewer daylight hours in the winter. And some of the symptoms, of course, kind of run along those same lines of feeling sad or having a depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure in activities once enjoyed, changes in appetite, usually eating more, craving carbs, change in sleep, usually hypersomnia or sleeping too much, loss of energy or increased fatigue despite increased sleep hours. So even though you're sleeping more, you're getting less rest. Increase in purposeless physical activity, i.e. an ability to sit still, pacing, hand wringing, like self-stimulating type maneuvers, or slow movements or speech. These actions must be severe enough to be observable to others, though. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, difficulty in thinking, concentrating, or making decisions, and then suicidal ideations, thoughts of death or suicide. SAD may begin at any age, but it typically starts when a person is between 18 and 30. There are several types of treatments. The one that I'm going to be focusing more on today is like light therapy, but there's also antidepressant medications, talk therapy, or a combination. So with that being said, have you ever had like a rough winter, like a winter where you felt like maybe this was kind of creeping up on you, or has it always kind of been like kind of like a winter bluesy type thing, or have you never been affected at all?
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, how are we defining a rough winter? Like, I decided to put a quote related to the winter on my sigil and remind all my progeny henceforth that winter is coming.
It could be that. Or just any of the symptoms
Depression
would be
is
the
coming.
proper way to evaluate this. So have you ever felt sad or a depressed mood, loss of interest? So, like,
I'm sure
apathy?
I had like a rough. I'm trying to think because I mean,
It's like
like
every day of my life.
yeah, I don't see a big diff.
Welcome.
Yeah.
No, but I'm trying to think specifically if there was like one winter that was like really rough. I mean, I can't think of it because recently like the winter swells were really better. So like when I was surfing, that wasn't a problem. And then before that, I could go snowboarding when the winter came. And now I just look forward to being able to use my oven so I can like bake stuff and make cheesy goods. So I don't know. I would say maybe like around February is when I start to get kind of tapped out. Like I want it to be warm. I want my sun. I'm tired of this like crazy darkness at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, definitely the darkness earlier is kind of a bummer. It also doesn't get very bright out either, which I thought that's what it used to do, but nowadays like I wake up at like 6:30 and it's still dark outside. Doesn't get dark light until like 7:30 or 8.
Oh, my bad.
I thought the change of the seasons. Yeah. I thought the change of the seasons was supposed to make like the daytimes brighter earlier, but apparently it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That must be in just the universe we surpassed. Now we're in a new world.
No, I've always felt sort of like a little bit more subdued in the fall and the winter, especially because of the loss of light. But maybe you'll get into this in a little bit later. But so if so, don't blow your load yet. But I wonder how much of it is. I wonder how much of this seasonal affective disorder is a phenomenon of just the holidays as well. Because you have Thanksgiving and you have Hanukkah and Christmas, and then you have New Year's, and then you have Valentine's Day, and it's like,
ooh, and then don't forget the re-traumatization of seeing those relatives that you would rather not.
Or I was thinking that maybe people who don't have anybody around get
Or
lonely.
there's that. Yes. Yeah.
The people that go to the bars on
The
Thanksgiving.
re-traumatization of seeing people you actually have to care about. Damn it.
At least
I'm
you
just
get
saying,
invited.
there's always that like one cousin or that one uncle that you're just like, oh God, not them.
Yeah.
Just ask you all the questions, make you feel like shit about yourself. You're like, oh yeah, okay.
Thanks for that. That's exactly why I wanted to come here today. No. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say, Ayla, it's good to always be active during winter. Like always do stuff, because that seems to also kind of stave away the sad.
Mhm.
Like there's been like that apathy where you just don't, you feel so lethargic, you don't want to do anything. And Nick, yeah, like I'm in winter mode now. Like every winter is a war on winter for me. Otherwise I just fucking fall apart. But I definitely feel it now, and I've taken a new approach this year, which is separate from this approach. But I think this is much a better path than the path that I take. But we'll dive more into that. Now I kind of want to move a little bit closer to the eyeball, because I want to focus on sort of like the biological components too. So the first thing is eye color, because your eyes obviously are the things that perceive light. There's evidence that a person's eye color can have a direct effect on how susceptible they are to sad. People with light or blue eyes score significantly lower on the seasonal pattern assessment questionnaire than those with dark or brown eyes. These results agree with previous research that found that brown or dark-eyed people were significantly more depressed than those with blue eyes.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
wow.
I was just about to be like, yeah, brown eyes. Woo!
It's like, no, we're just all, anybody with shit brown eyes is just a sad soul.
They're not shit, man. They're copper and soot.
I mean, aren't you the optimist?
Okay, I try.
So the reason that eye color may make some people more susceptible to depression or mood changes might be because of the amount of light an individual's eyes can process. The retina is the part of our eyeball containing cells that are sensitive to light. When light enters the eye, these cells trigger nerve impulses that form a visual image in our brain. In 1995, scientists discovered that some retinal cells, rather than forming an image, simply send information about levels of brightness from the back of the eye to the brain's hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is an important part of the brain which secretes hormones such as oxytocin, serotonin, all that fun stuff that regulate temperature, hunger, and sleep cycles. Melatonin as well, because for the sleep cycle stuff. As the amount of blue and green light reaching the hypothalamus increases, the amount of melatonin decreases. Eyes with lower pigment, blue or gray eyes, are more sensitive to light. This means they don't need to absorb as much light as brown or dark eyes before the information reaches their retinal cells. As such, people with lighter eyes release less melatonin during the fall and winter. This mechanism might provide light-eyed people some resilience to seasonal affective disorder.
Lamest superpower ever.
Pretty cool
Honestly.
though. You get the information faster. Over here, I've got like all this cloudy color to sift
No, all that
through.
just means is that we're pasty. That's all that
I
means.
just want to know if you see more frames than I see. So, like, if there's less light hitting your required to like see or just presents the brightness and get some emotional intuition on a situation, if because the threshold is lower, you can perceive things more than a brown-eyed person than me.
I will counter that with another observation. When it's very sunny outside, I can't see shit. So, no, I don't know. I mean, I think that there is obviously it kind of makes sense because you're thinking about people with primarily lighter colored eyes were living in more cool climates and more overcast climates. So evolving that sort of characteristic would be handy in those types of climates so that they could absorb as much sun as somebody who is in more of a warm or tropical climate.
Yep.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing is, like, if you take somebody from like the warmer climates, like closer to the equator, and someone from far from the equator, and switch them, you get someone who's really sad, and then you get someone who's really blind.
Yeah, exactly. Blind and sunburned.
What is that Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movie where one
Hear
of
no
them's
evil,
blind?
see no evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
See no sadness, feel no sad. I don't know.
There you go.
So next we're gonna talk about intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. Isn't that a mouthful?
Ooh, ganglion cells.
Oh, so there you have your rods, your cones in your eyes that build the visual information, but these things that see without seeing, that just perceive brightness, are these intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, or IPRGCs. They're also called photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, or melanospin containing retinal ganglion cells.
Oh my God.
Doctors,
Yeah.
like when you're forced to learn all those words, you
You
just
can
want to
use
throw
all of
them all
them.
together. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I had to study this 3 days straight on Adderall for a test. You're going to learn these words too.
I'm surprised they didn't throw Latin in there.
So they're a type of neuron in the retina of the mammalian eye. The presence of IPRGCs were first noted in 1923 when rodless, coneless mice still responded to a light stimulus through pupil constriction, suggesting that rods and cones are not the only light-sensitive neurons in the retina. It wasn't until the 80s that advancements in research on these cells began. Recent research shows that these retinal ganglion cells, unlike other retinal ganglion cells, are intrinsically photosensitive due to the presence of melanospin. It's not spin, it's melanospin, a light-sensitive protein. That P before the S kills me. Therefore, they constitute a third class of photoreceptors, in addition to rod and cone cells. So as it's picking up light, extending it back to the hypothalamus, you get this thing, you get your melatonin, which is responsible for sleeping and shit like that. You also get oxytocin, which is known as the love drug. It's a peptide hormone and neuropeptide. It is normally produced in the hypothalamus and released by the posterior pituitary. It plays a role in social bonding, reproduction, childbirth, and the period after childbirth. I think if you have lower oxytocin, you're more susceptible to PPD, postpartum depression. Oxytocin is released into the bloodstream as a hormone in response to love and in labor. This helps, again, with birth, bonding with the baby, and milk production. So it's interesting, it's like the social bonding thing. I think as like lights get restricted, you get lower oxytocin, which means lower social bonding, thus pressing you into an antisocial vector. And kind of like providing this feedback loop to be more and more depressed if you're an extrovert.
And then throw in all the holidays that you have to be a part of. Yeah.
And then all the holidays, or not be a part of if you don't get invited. And then you have to deal
people
with
in
that.
Australia got it the best, or the Southern Hemisphere in general. They have all of their holidays in the summertime.
Oh yeah. It seems like it'd be cool to celebrate Christmas in summer.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, it'd be bright and beautiful most of the time. It's nice. Yeah.
That's right. Oh,
I mean, it's kind of like California. I mean, it's not like we should be complaining very much.
I suppose. I think there's room to go. I know. I definitely find the light in LA versus the light in Shasta very interestingly different. Maybe because you're just higher up, but everything does look bright. It looks like someone like cranked everything up by like a stop brighter or something, and now everything's just it looks bright.
Yeah.
But it looks really pretty though.
For sure.
And I wonder if somewhere there that helps with this sort of the seasonal disorder, where like maybe if you just go somewhere where things are brighter, then it might help you a bit.
Well, that's how like people buy those little lamps, right? With the little sunlight, like fake sunlight lamp. And so
Yeah.
you wake up and your little alarm clock it's a light and it just turns on. It's supposed to like brighten your day. And people swear by it. And I've been tempted to buy it, but I'm also like, is that just the cognitive dissonance of buying a really expensive light?
I
So I
think they
don't know.
still use those in Russia because it gets so dark and for so long, and you don't get as much sunlight. So they like literally have like UV lights that they have. You
Well,
know.
yeah,
Yep.
I remember when that movie 30 Days of Night came out. It's like that Josh Hartnett vampire film.
Ethan Hawke.
It's
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett. Are they
Oh.
both in it?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was Ethan Hawke. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the same person.
I may be thinking Daybreakers.
Oh, maybe that's what you're thinking of. But yeah, but in
Mhm.
this one, it was just the idea that at a certain time of the year, it's pitch black for 30 days. You don't get any sun. And I just remember when I first learned that, I was like, what? No sun.
Yeah, in like
Like, how do
Alaska in
you?
the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, that would drive me up the wall. And see, that's where it's like there's that gradation. Like if I was in that environment where it was just black for 30 days and 30 nights, there's no sun at all, I would probably go a little stir crazy for sure.
Well, which is worse? They're like a winter of darkness or a summer of light, because Alaska has both.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, like
Yeah.
you can do blackout curtains, so you can get it pretty dark in your house and just like have a little cave. So I would take the winter with the summer, but winter it's harder to like manufacture the sun and like, landscape against a sunny day. Like that's outside as opposed to like hiding.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna touch on some light therapy because you can actually engineer, I guess, a mini sun if you want to call it that. But it's just something to kind of like help you through the winter. There's also a couple other things that play into seasonal affective disorder outside of like the holidays thing. Staying indoors too long and staying in the dark indoors is also bad.
Mhm.
So you do want to get outside at least for a little bit, just to get that sun. It also helps with vitamin D and all that other stuff. To touch on light therapy, it's a way to treat seasonal affective disorder and certain other conditions by exposure to artificial light, usually like LED light. SAD, we went over that. During light therapy, you sit or work near a device called a light therapy box. This box gives off a bright light that mimics natural outdoor light. Light therapy is thought to affect the brain chemicals linked to mood and sleep, easing SAD symptoms. Again, through photosynthetic, that photosensitive, intrinsically photosensitive, is it retinal ganglia? It may also help with other types of depression, sleep disorders, and other conditions. Light therapy is also known as bright light therapy or phototherapy. There's a alternative version of this, I think, because you get into colors, and what colors are is just separations of light. Color therapy or chromotherapy is an alternative remedy that uses color and light to treat physical or mental health by balancing the body's energy centers, also known as chakras. So I find it interesting that chakras carry certain wavelengths as well, or certain lights. This concept dates back to the ancient Egyptians, who used sun-activated solarium rooms constructed with colored glass for therapeutic purposes. Today, both conventional and holistic practitioners acknowledge the bright potential of art therapy, which naturally includes color. And although color therapy remains a gray area in Western medicine, enthusiasts are tickled pink over its influence. They're like the whole body.
But it's like that article I sent you with the like, what is it? Well, it's just weird word choice. They very themselves.
Well, pink is interesting. Pink and purple are so in like the original in Newton's study of color, he wrote a book about colors. It's not included because they involve multiple wavelengths, multiple colors to be made. So it's like a complex color, I guess, if you want to. So it is kind of funny that it's tickled pink over its influence. But like, have you ever tried color therapy or light therapy at all?
Well, Nick one time bought these crazy sunglasses. They were plastic, and then was it like all green or one was all blue?
Indigo.
Indigo, yeah. So it like um you wear it and then you sit outside for a minute and everything's purple, and then when you take it off, it's like, I guess it was like supposed to activate those chakras or something. I mean,
Mhm.
Nope.
Yeah, some hippy dippy thing I got in Mount Shasta.
yeah.
So
Hippy
third
dippy
eye,
cross.
yeah, third eye sunglasses. They were tinted like all indigo, and you put them on. It was like basically putting a very, very thick filter of indigo over everything. It's pretty interesting, just the way it kind of makes you feel. They had colors for each chakra as well, so they had red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And yeah, so I mean, I had the indigo ones. I've tried all of them. I really enjoy the green ones as well. It's a very interesting experience. And I definitely felt the difference, especially observing life through that heavy filter is kind of interesting. And yeah, I would definitely suggest that to people if you ever want to try a cheap way of kind of experiencing this thing. Get yourself a pair. I'm sure you can grab them on online somewhere. But yeah, it is fun. And then kind of think about like how it's affecting your thoughts. Because I know with the indigo ones, I definitely got a lot more spacey and sort of more in my head, if that's possible. But with the green ones, I kind of got a little bit more connected and a little bit more. I felt my spirits elevate a little bit, and that was connected to the heart chakra.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was just going to say too, I like that also because one thing that it'll do, like the green ones, there's a lot of pine trees and shrubs and plants out there. So when you add that green filter, there's a bit of a pop to them. And so I think it just kind of also makes natural surroundings more dynamic. And there's this like, I don't know, restoration of magic that's brought into them a little bit.
very cool. There's interestingly enough, I think the different thought patterns when it comes to colors might like there's a study where they injected people with oxytocin. They all reacted kind of different, but their thought patterns did change. So like their feelings about somebody before and after were different. So maybe through those lenses, in some small subtle way, you're pushing your neurochemistry in one direction or another.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it seems interesting.
Well, it's just as interesting as that the Egyptians having light rooms back then. I mean, like that's kind of really, I mean, I know they were really advanced, but that's really cool that we're just now catching on to that. Because I know, and again, this is like all my sciencey things are based on Grey's Anatomy, but they had a whole episode where they have these rooms, and so they have plants, lots and lots of plants, and then there's a blue light, and it's supposed to help calm you down if you're really stressed out. And then I think you can change the color too. So like if you're I think anxious, they would give you the blue and the green. But if you were a little bit depressed, you could go in and get like a pink light or something. I forget what color they gave, but it's interesting because there's certain studies similar to that are coming out.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I also think of that that Seinfeld episode where Kramer has the giant sign outside of his window, and it just beats him down with blue or with red light. He goes over to Jerry and tries to make like a bowl of cereal, and he pours the tomato sauce in it.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's so
That
true.
fried his retinas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
So, what's also kind of cool is like, so you don't even have to do that much exposure to light therapy or color therapy, like an hour a day, but it should be done consistently. So like SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, they take like a month or a couple months to start, or 3 weeks to 5 weeks or something like that to start to work. Light therapy stuff has shown, like if you sit an hour a day with a 10,000 lux light LED light box thing next to you, it takes like a couple weeks for it to work. completely where like you fill it without its use, I guess, which I do
Mm.
find sort of interesting. But I do think that if you do it sporadically, it's like a quick hit of light will help you.
Just okay, then let's take some bets here. How long? How long before some evil genius decides to have laptops and computer screens mimic natural light so that
Mm.
people can be on screens longer?
Well, as long as it's providing some sort of light therapy, I'm fine with it. Maybe it's like 2 weeks ago. Maybe it already happened.
Maybe.
If it doesn't fry my eyeballs, I think I'll be happy.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, like if you could have a computer screen that mimics natural light and gives you the same sort of benefits, I'm sure somebody's going to make a killing off of that.
Yeah.
That'll be a part of Apple's new product line, I'm sure.
Well,
What
yeah.
What I've found with like if you use like daylight LEDs, those are pretty good at making artificial light. I set up just like I was trying to grow some bonsai trees a while back, and I just used the LED light within like a somewhat dark part of my room, and it worked. It provides that sort of artificial sunlight, I guess. But I don't know, like, I mean, humans aren't good at making naturalistic stuff, so I wonder how like the effect on it over a long time.
You could just sun gaze like we used to do. You know what I mean?
Sun
Like-
gazing. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's right. You had like a little book about that or something, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the concept of watching the sunrise and the sunset, and basically like the hour before the sun finally sets, and an hour, basically like the first hour of the sun rising is when the light is at its least harsh, and it'll give you the ability to kind of just like stare at the sun without hurting your eyes. And it's supposed to give you, like all of those endorphins and kind of re-regulate your circadian rhythms. And, like it's something that we probably did a lot when we were more primitive humans. I mean, what else was there to do than watch the sun come up and go down? So I think that, and I don't know how many, primitive humans were suffering from seasonal affective disorder. So,
I'm sure it was as many as there are now.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think if you're
proportional.
out all day in the sunshine
That's
or
true.
even in
You're
the
doing
overcast, yeah.
Or,
Yeah, hunting and shit.
also too,
Yeah.
if you lay around, your food's not going to come up to you and ask you to eat it. Like you still have to hunt,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
get up and stuff.
And that's why we started farming, because we were lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, but
Security.
about the like sun though, I do think it's interesting. So for like a couple weeks, I stopped going outside for the most part. Like, I would do like, I'd go to the park and I'd do some archery or I'd walk my dog or something. But I didn't get a lot of just outside sun time. And so I started like maybe 3 weeks ago. In the middle of the day, I'll just go to the backyard and I'll just sit in the sun with my dog because she really likes to sunbathe. And we just have a little moment out there. And I don't know why, but there's just something about going out there and just charging up like a little flower. You do feel like that boost. And it's interesting because like you're talking about the eyes, but I wonder too, to what extent our other sensory organs are taking in the sunlight as well. So I don't know. But to answer your question, I do think having a little bit of like a sun dip is beneficial.
I'm sure our skin picks it up. The eyes seem most interesting to me because it's the external part of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what piqued my interest.
Well,
And
yeah.
I see through my eyes, so it's also
Well, and it's funny
probably-
because like if you close your eyes and you're outside in the sun, okay, so like if you're indoors, close your eyes and it's just black. But then I was outside the other day and I had my eyes closed and I was like staring into the sun and it was like this peach color. And I was like, oh my God, I'm literally like, my eye is seeing the back of my eyelid as illuminated by the sun. I don't know. Have you ever had that moment where you're like, watching my own like eyelid from the inside out?
Yeah. If when you close your eyes will naturally roll up too. So you're also looking at like the bottom part of your brain, maybe.
No, no.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Yeah,
That's
that's why it's so dark in there.
So that the hollow sound and then the darkness.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Confirms everything.
Oh no.
So if we're in a dark room and we have a light box on and we're not really looking at it, but we're looking at something else, what does that remind you of?
Tree falling in the woods? No.
Slightly. Yeah, I know I described it really generically, but I'm also kind of curious.
So wait, so there's a light box in your room. You're not
you're in a room.
directly okay.
You're in the dark, pitch dark. You're looking at, let's say, a screen, and you're working. But you have a light box behind you somewhere, and you can, out of your peripheral vision, pick up that light. I guess the question is, what space acts like that, but for a community of people?
Bathroom, porta potty at night.
What are you doing in a porta potty with a bunch of people at night?
Yeah.
Camping, you know.
Are
those
you
camping
two clowncore? Are you guys the people? Are you making music in porta potties over there?
No.
No. Although I did make some hilarious jingles about my pain today.
Awesome.
I was just playing on the piano. I was like, oh, I'm gonna Weird Al this.
We'll get into sound therapy. Don't worry.
I don't know what. Okay, this is like a riddle. What social setting are you in a box with
Movie
minimal
theater.
light, staring at a light? Oh,
Yep. A movie theater.
okay. Wow.
So it
I
turns
went
out
with
that
porta potty. What the hell? It's weird.
mine's always in the gutter or in the porta potty. But yeah, theaters are they're big like light rooms, right? And you have enough
Picture
lux
films.
coming out of that projector to start to produce a feeling of light therapy. And my most interested in theaters around like the Great Depression, because they were like, film has always been considered to be a recession-proof business, right? And most recently, because
I was gonna laugh too.
yeah,
No, it's really sad. I just like, can we just chop the top off of all the movie theaters? Oh, no, but you can't because you need it to be dark. Fuck, I don't know. There's like no solution to be had. Just,
but like I'm thinking of like during the Depression, the Great Depression. So when everything was dying, the cinema survived and people like went to it to just escape. But I wonder if there's any other like some secondary psychological effect, because these photoreceptors were only found around that time in mice, so humans wouldn't know, right? And all your movies are in black and white. I don't know, when did Wizard of Oz come out?
I'll find out.
1956.
I hate the word Technicolor. I don't know why. I just despise it with a passion. 1939.
Oh, I was way off.
Like,
So
sorry,
like-
but why Technocolor? Like, it's
Technicolor.
not like it's like and then like the colors are
Technicolor.
changed.
Not techno color. Technicolor.
Still, no, I don't understand who would be like, oh, okay, we got color now. No, Technocolor. Is that the
It's
brand
not.
name or?
Ayla,
I'm in a bar
it's
called
not.
Technocolor.
I'm sorry, Technicolor.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, it
So
isn't.
the
I mean,
premise
but
of your
it's still
complaint
just
is
absurd.
baseless.
No,
She's still mad. She don't care.
I don't understand. Where's the technique? Like, is it like saying like technically color? Or, like, I don't Technicolor. What the hell?
Technical color.
It's the color
You would
process.
have to dive into the color processing of like their film, because it's
Okay.
pretty remarkable, the stuff that they did for Wizard of Oz. I mean, so that whole is it Judy Garland? The shot where she opens up the door and she's in the Wizard of Oz place. Then
Oz.
like the camera presses, in Oz. The camera presses forward and she walks out.
Mhm.
They actually had her stunt double painted, I think, a sepia tone, which was like the tone of the Kansas or whatever. And then she walks. It was just a cool setup, that's all. But they did a lot of interesting shit with color on that movie, obviously. But going back to 29, when the Great Depression, going to that, all your films are in black and white, so you're
Mhm.
working from 0 to 1 on your color. Like there's no colors, but 0 to 1 on your brightness and your luminosity type stuff. So I found it interesting that in the time when this effect may have been in the highest, that you see people going to cinemas the most. But also you have the Great Depression. But I'm going to run through this story anyways. Or the story of Hollywood in the Great Depression. The movie industry's triumph in the 1930s lay in giving the public what it wanted to see. Its product was therapeutic diversion for millions of Americans who needed to get away from their troubles. By providing this crucial relief, American film reached a pinnacle of influence at a time when most other industries were struggling mightily. At the time of the 1929 crash, Hollywood was in transition. Sound was here to stay, but still in its early stages. There had been huge investments made to convert shooting sets and theaters to sound. Movie careers had ended and been launched overnight. Hollywood urgently needed to recoup their conversion investments and market this new form, even as the country faced unprecedented hardship. They had to catch up with their new technology fast, creating a cinema of sight and sound, image and words. Fortunately, the industry had some advantages. First, their only big competition was radio. Theater too, but it was more expensive. The studio system was also in place, so all the major players had stars, directors, writers, producers under contract. They even owned the theaters themselves. This created enormous efficiencies compared to today's complicated, unwieldy system. The result, the studios were able to turn around product quickly and reasonably and make it timely. So it seems like this therapeutic effect of not even escapism, but maybe a bit of light therapy that propelled Hollywood to push itself faster in production. And I find that interesting as all hell.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. No, for sure. I'm just thinking about like the types of sets and scenes that were given this color, right? Like, so for example, when you think about the Great Depression, like I know a lot of people moved to the cities, I believe. And so it's like they didn't have all of the nice parks and things set up exactly. So in terms of it being an escape, I also think it's like a way to access the world that you can't really access in your day to day, that escapism element. And so like in The Wizard of Oz, there's that poppy scene where it's really pretty. There's a scene where her going to the forest. But then if you look at like some of the other films, I'm just curious about like their locations, because it's one thing to have color films when your stories are indoors versus outdoors,
We have to pull it back. This is post Jazz Singer, so you have sound, you have talkies, but pre Wizard of Oz, so black and white film.
Yeah, well, I think that the harsh light of being in a dark room with the bright light would probably trigger some sort of response in the brain to make you feel like you're in a sunny day,
Yeah.
Kind of like you're in, like watching the sun come out in a like on a cave. You know what I mean? It's like there's something very primal about being in a dark, dank place and seeing the sun peek through.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm sure it, lifts the spirits and kind of, I think that it probably had more of an impact back then because people were experiencing it less. And so the impact was still novel, or the effect was still novel. I think now we just kind of have a harder time. Speaking of sound.
All right, hold on. I have to take a quick break.
Okay.
I will be.
No, I think that there was certainly a novelty to going to that experience. You didn't go to the movie theaters all the time, and you certainly didn't have a screen, and you probably didn't have the luxury of, I think that it was hard enough to make your house bright. So I think that you probably didn't, accept it to be dark any longer than it needed it to be. So, yeah, I think that there's definitely something novel about that experience, and then people being able to kind of like not replicate that anywhere else.
For sure. Like, I'm just thinking, imagine being able to take a group of people to a group therapy session called a movie 3 times a week for at least an hour, and you've basically built a light therapy routine.
Yeah, certainly.
Mm.
And
With elements of storytelling and
Yeah, it makes it even
human
better.
psychology. Yeah.
You're wrapping it up in the game of a narrative,
Hmm.
which is like, I don't know if subtle therapy is good, but it seems decent in this effect. But I'm gonna shift gears a little bit to sound and talk about music and sound therapy and all that.
Mhm.
Any questions on the light and the seasonal affect disorder using light therapy, the idea of cinema as therapy, anything like that?
I'm definitely gonna try to find like a cheap little light lamp and test this theory. Do like a mood journal while I'm waiting for it to arrive, and then and see when it comes if I'm all like, "Yay!"
That'd be perfect. It'd be good to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Nick, anything?
No. I think that was pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Dope. So I'm gonna get towards sound, and I got a nice little block to read here. Music is, or so this was to see if music had an effect on flow states. So like that sort of focus type thing and what it can do. Because ideally, if you're trying to work yourself out of depression, you're trying to find a task that you can lose yourself in, right? And just focus on that one thing so you don't have to deal with anything else. So, music is used in healthcare to promote physical and psychological well being. As clinical applications of music continue to expand, there's a growing need to understand the biological mechanisms by which music influences health. Here we explore the neurochemistry and social flow of group singing. Four participants from a vocal jazz ensemble were conveniently sampled to sing together in two separate performances, pre-composed and improvised. Concentration of plasma oxytocin, and I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's related to the. It's the same thing as the hormone. I'm guessing. Is it just the plasma part makes me think it may be different. And adrenocorticotropic hormone (ACTH) were measured before and after each singing condition to assess levels of social affiliation, engagement, and arousal. A validated assessment of flow state was administered after each singing condition to assess participants' absorption in the task. The feasibility of the research methods were assessed, and initial neurochemical data was generated on group singing. Mean scores were blah, blah, blah. Statistics with no significant difference between conditions. So it looked like improved singing conditions, no significant conditions. ACTH concentrations decreased in both conditions significantly. So in the pre-composed singing condition, which may have contributed to the social flow experience. Mean plasma oxytocin levels increased only in response to improvised singing, with no significant difference between improvised and pre-composed singing conditions imposed. The results indicate that the group singing reduces stress and arousal as measured by ACTH and induces social flow in participants. The effects of pre-composed and improvised group singing on oxytocin are less clear. High levels of plasma oxytocin in the improvised condition may perhaps be attributed to the social effects of improvising musically with others. Further research with larger sample size is warranted. I found that intriguing that like through improvised singing, through working with each other like an improv jazz band, you get an increased social flow.
Magic.
But when it, I'm sorry?
Magic.
Yeah, magic.
Well, I mean, you're laughing, but that's how magic works. Yes,
It's true.
I did just watch The Craft Legacy, and yeah, there is a certain level of communal chanting.
What do you think? There's chanting. There's the ceremonies. They all surround music and singing. It's because that'll get you into a sympathetic state with everybody else in the group, and then you manifest your outcome because you're all thinking of the same thing.
Dope.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do like the improv nature of it too. That like that's the thing that helps it.
Yeah, well, because you have to when you're improving. Not that I'm like a big singer, but I did a couple choirs in my day, and like even just on that level, when you have scripts and stuff, you still need to kind of get your cues from the other person, harmonize with the people next to you, and I think the harmonizing aspect is really key too, because you're feeling out the other person and anticipating. You're really like listening. And so if you're singing, you're being heard and responded to and seen. So it's like all those kinds of recognitions, I think, for the social creatures in us are really important, especially when you lay the land about sad and being a little bit more internal. Singing's a way to bond without having to like, get into like, oh, so what do you do for a living or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you can kind of zone out.
No, it's cool. Yeah. It makes me think a lot about like dancing, right? Because it's like improv dancing, sort of, or like if you ask somebody to dance, it's the same thing. Right? You're trying to fill them out and move with them.
The best dance class I ever had was like this guest teacher, and they were from, I don't know if they were like an old Merce Cunningham dancer. He was like a OG contemporary choreographer. Or they could have been somebody from the Palabolos Dance Company. So if you've ever seen those commercials where there's like a shadow of a Volkswagen and then all of a sudden people roll out. So they're like dancers that use their bodies to make shapes. But one of the things that they had us do was to pick a partner, and they play an adagio song, which is like a really slow, drawn out song. And you have to maintain skin contact with that person. So most people start with the hand, but you might go over to the elbow and then you lean over to the shoulder. Some people, they would like link the neck and then bounce off the other shoulder. And it was just really interesting because it's like a simple dance exercise, but because you both have to be so aware of each other and connected, I mean, it's a little intimate.
I can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me wonder about like fights as well. If there's some sort of weird flow state that the two fighters get into once they understand each other.
Oh, totally. Totally. Especially if you're talking about like taking someone to the ground and you have to like anticipate a flinch or wiggle out of a position. But even boxing wise, I mean, like every time they have the ones where they're like, okay, so fake jab left and then cut right. It's like you're doing stuff. The other person could be like, okay, either they're really jabbing right or they're faking right. And so you're constantly trying to match footwork and speed and levels, power,
And then,
punch.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
part of me wonders if the cacophony of the crowd helps facilitate a flow state. Because it kind of reminds me of the binaural beats or the white noise or other various sounds that people like to listen to in order to concentrate or to unconcentrate, if you will. And so, when you get a big group of people roaring, it has the same sort of qualities as white noise. And so I wonder if that helps bring fighters and even, athletes or, they talk about how, you get that high from the crowd of, everybody cheering and making noise. And I wonder if there's something to that, that facilitates that sort of flow state.
with respect to light, like having big lights, it does help. So I'm not too sure the cacophony of the crowd. I can see it helping for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if white noise helps people study, I can't imagine that if you could train your body to respond to it, and athletes have to do that and respond under the pressure, I think at some point there probably would be a similar response in the brain to the roaring of a crowd and white noise.
Well, yeah, or even just the fact that you're the two people that aren't engaging in it. So you have the surround sound, of cacophony. It would be very like electrifying too, I think, right? Because anytime you're on a stage, your heart races. I mean, that's like one of the number one fears for a lot of people. So then to add on to that, this extra layer of having to fight with this other person while being witnessed, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much it's them being aware of it or the active ignoring of audio input. You know how like if you were to put a blindfold on, you can hear better. So if you have this cacophony, your ears might be like, I'm not even trying to hear any sounds. And then it might make your like eyesight sharper and your
Mm-hmm.
movement
That
sharper
focus.
too.
I see
Mhm.
that for sure. Okay. Like I do want to dive a bit more into this music side. Specifically talking about music therapy. So like, I do find it. I'm sorry, my brain's still being distracted by the fighting and the dancing and the music. How they're all kind of correlated with this flow state between a small group of social people improving.
Mm.
So music therapy. Sound healing therapy uses aspects of music to improve physical and emotional health and well-being. The person being treated partakes in the experience with a trained practitioner. Music therapy may involve listening to music, obviously, singing along to music, moving to the beat of the music, meditating to music. There's a really fun thing to do if you meditate and listen to metal, and playing an instrument. Healing with sound is believed to date back to ancient Greece, when music was used in an attempt to cure mental disorders. Throughout history, music has been used to boost morale in military troops, help people work faster and more productively, and even ward off evil spirits by chanting. And then this gets into bigger things about sound therapies, right? Because music therapy is just one specific one. Sound therapies can help with things like tinnitus. An individual wiser than myself once told me that his tinnitus was his alarm system. Like he was stressing out too much. And it's pretty wise. So that got me into kind of diving into this side more. Tinnitus is a non-auditory internal sound, so it usually sounds like a humming or a tone in your ears. But patients can use real external noise to counteract their perception and reaction to tinnitus. Sound masking can cover the sound of tinnitus, while more advanced therapies may provide more robust relief. Sound therapy is a broad term that can be used in many different ways depending on the specific product, clinical setting, or individual clinician. In general, sound therapy means to use of external noise in order to alter a patient's perception of or reaction to tinnitus. There are probably any external. You can use it for external situations. Like other tinnitus treatments, sound therapies do not cure the condition, but they may significantly lower the perceived burden and intensity of tinnitus. Sound-based therapies function on 4 general mechanisms of action. Mechanisms of actions are the punitive process or reasons why a given intervention is effective. Different products may emphasize a specific aspect or include a combination of approaches, such as masking, which exposing the patient to an external noise at a loud enough volume that it partially or completely covers the sound of their tinnitus. Distraction, using external sound to divert a patient's attention from the sound of tinnitus. Habituation, helping the patient's brain reclassify tinnitus as an unimportant sound, such as white noise, that can be consciously ignored. Or neuromodulation, the use of specialized sound to minimize the neurohyperactivity, thought to be the underlying cause of tinnitus. There are many devices that offer different levels of sound therapy. Below is a general list of general types of sound therapies, which go through guided medication, guided meditation, neurologic music therapy, Bonnie method, Nordoff-Robbins, tuning fork therapy, or brainwave entertainment, which is like the binaural beat stuff. And yeah, we're gonna like right after this, I kind of want to dive more in the ancient Greek side of things. But any questions on this crazy thing called sound therapy?
No, I mean, no questions. I think as somebody who has tinnitus, I think to me, it's always been that kind of thing where it's like, it just reminds me when my mind is being silent. That's when I can hear it the most. But it's like, for me, it's just a high pitch, like constant, high pitched noise. I don't know.
Does yours last for? How long do you hear that noise for?
My entire life.
Wait, you're just always hearing a high pitched sound?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, even right now, if I wanted to tune into it, I could. I mean, listen to it right now. It's going on.
Baby Driver over there.
It just doesn't bother me. It's just one of those things that I've just always had, and it's never really been intrusive to the point where I couldn't hear anything else. Like if that were the case, then it would be an issue for sure. But to me, it really only I can kind of turn it up and down. So like if I'm quiet and I meditate and I'm keeping my mind sort of like, at peace, the more empty my headspace gets, the more noticeable my tinnitus gets. So kind of for me, it's like a gauge of whether I am actually completely like letting go mentally or not. So yeah.
It's fascinating. And is it like a sound in your ear, or do you feel like it's more of like a mental sound?
It's a mental sound.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, like it doesn't. I mean, like it can feel like it's a really loud ringing, but most of the time it's like I have to pay attention, and then all of a sudden I hear it. It's kind of like what to me it feels like is like like a like a very very fine thread of energy. Then that's why it really doesn't bother me, because to me it's like in my head that's the sound of the universe going, like, and all of the energies buzzing off of each other and the molecules crashing into each other. And so yeah, I mean, like it definitely doesn't bother me, but I know a lot of people who have like really bad tinnitus, and it's torture. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that I don't have that sort of situation.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, well, and it's just, I only ask questions because I don't have like a prolonged ringing, but like for no reason, whether I'm stressed or not stressed, I'll just be going around my day. And then there's just this like,
Yep.
it just pops
Yeah.
in, and then it's like, whoa, because it's weird in that like I almost lose hearing, and that's all I hear. And then my ears feel like they're filling up with water, and everything gets really stuffy, and then it's fine again. But my perception is like, wait, like, am I always hearing things stuffy? Was that my one moment of clear audit, listening? Because it's like it comes and it goes. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
to keep an eye on that,
mine comes and goes. If I'm coding, I'm usually listening to music. It's usually loud music because I've listened to loud music forever. So like after a long work, I'll take them off and I'll hear that ringing. Or if I'm particularly stressed, I don't need any sort of environmental stimuli. It'll just go off, and it'll be like it'll go from a "ee" to a higher "ee," and then for like 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, I just got to deal with this, I guess. And then it
Dang, 5
subsides, but it
minutes.
comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's like a sound knife.
Yeah.
That's what it is to me. It's like if you could line up sound particles in a straight line that could like actually cut something, that's what it kind of feels like. It's just a very 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 fine line of sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I've always wondered though, if I was talking to somebody I didn't want to talk to and I heard like my tinnitus go off, if I would be happy.
Yeah.
This tone is so much pleasant than that person's
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Although I kind of wonder too, like I feel like we all listen to our music too loudly. Are we just losing our hearing? And this is just like our ears just,
Maybe.
that rattle of sound.
There's no
Certainly
such
possible.
thing as it's too loud. And I'm putting all my eggs in the transhumanist basket. So once I go deaf, I'm just gonna get some new ears. Be
Oh,
fine.
okay. Yeah.
Some new brain. Just get some
Yeah.
things stuck in my brain. I'll be good. I ain't tripping.
I ain't tripping. True. Bionic ear, bionic brain. Just replace it all. Tune up.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about carpal tunnel if I just cut off my arm and get a new one.
That's fair.
That's true.
Yes.
Very true. Tell me how that goes.
I'll let you know. I got to make the arm first. So now we're diving into some ancient Greek music therapy. So according to Damon, a music theorist of the 5th century BC and teacher Socrates and Perseus? Pericles? Damn it. Music is powerful because it... say it?
Pericles.
Pericles. Thank you.
Yeah.
Music is powerful because it imitates the movements of the soul. Music in ancient Greek understanding has two faces. On the one hand, it can suppress human passions and desires, making it a powerful moral and educational tool. On the other hand, it can influence the animal part of the soul that is distributed and act as a calming therapeutic influence. Accordingly, the Greeks of the classical period attributed the gift of music both to Apollo for its educational value and to Dionysus for its cathartic and therapeutic power. It is the second aspect of music that we will focus on here. According to the Platonic view, while Apollo and the Muses used music to civilize mortals through the gift of education, Dionysus is responsible for manta, a kind of frenzy. I'm sorry, not manta, mania. That's my bad eyes. Mania, a kind of frenzy. Mania is a liberating force which, when channeled through appropriate rituals, can lead to what the ancient Greeks called catharsis, a purging of the soul. In the Platonic cosmology, mania is a sickness, and the rituals that accompany it, centering on the music and dance, are aimed at curing it. According to this worldview, many mental dysfunctions are due to disharmonious movements of the soul and can be cured with the aid of harmony and musical rhythm. As Plato writes in his dialogues, Timaeus, harmony, which has motions akin to the revolutions of the soul within us, was given by the Muses as an ancillary to the inner revolution of the soul when it has lost its harmony, to assist in restoring it to order and concord with itself. In the case of ritual mania, a specific instrument and a particular musical mode are prescribed as the only ways to manage passion and achieve catharsis. The sound of a flute playing Phrygian music,
Fugian. Yeah.
There you go.
Very rapid and kind of erratic.
Okay. The Fugian sound was seen as best suited to the sonic range of the flute and was perceived to have, I really want to call that orgasmic, but it's not, orgastic qualities which excite the senses. According to Aristotle, the flute, as well as certain sacred songs, awaken passions such as pity, fear, and enthusiasm in those who are susceptible to such passions. Flute music and sacred melodies can heal the soul and bring catharsis mixed with pleasure. For this reason, Aristotle proclaims this type of music is suitable for the theater. The idea that certain types of melodies and sounds have a purgative effect on disturbed souls is also expounded by Plato. In his work Ion, he describes how corybantes, static revelers who, when they dance, are not in their right mind, can only perceive one kind of music, that of the god who possesses them. In order to harmonize with it, they reflexively dance to its rhythm and sing the words that go with it. This is where we begin to see the notion of music and dance as a means of diagnosis and therapy. So what do you think about music as therapy? Or like this sort of ancient Greek way of looking at it?
I think there's certainly merit to it, and there's something, I think that there's been a lot of ancient customs and traditions surrounded by music and community growing and building and ceremony for sure. So yeah, I think there's something intrinsic about just the human condition and then also the music we make in which to convey that condition.
Yeah. Do you think one can, through music, work their way out of depression to a state of mania and then to a state of catharsis?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many people talk about how, a certain artist got them through a depression or a sadness or a breakup or, tons of people have had, artists and stuff that kind of lead them through sadnesses and then through catharsis as well. I mean, I could think of like Radiohead is great for that. If you're feeling melancholy and sort of like somber, Radiohead is perfect for that because they just kind of cater to that sort of motif. And there's definitely a lot of catharsis in listening to their music and kind of feeling the freedom of the sadness a little bit.
Yeah. There are definitely songs that can get me into emotional states, and I find that really intriguing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think sound is probably the most the least complicated key to human emotion for sure. And I think that originated with music. First it was percussion and, us beating rocks, and then we evolved into, more wind instruments and string instruments and all of the ones that we have now. And but each of that is just kind of an extension of the expression of our innermost selves.
Do you think you go a day without listening to music?
I certainly have before. It's interesting for me, like music, I get into moods where like I just want to listen to music and it's, like a certain artist or I go back to like, 10 years ago or, 15 years ago, what was I listening to? What do I really like? Let me check that song out again. Do I still like it? Does it bring up memories? Because that's for me, like music definitely is tied to memory. And I think that's kind of something cool about it because it transcends time. So yeah, there's something inseparable between human existence and music, which is kind of beautiful if you think about it, like the concept of sound being the crux of all existence.
Most definitely. And I think getting back to like the movie theater as like a collective light therapy session. You also have the sounds and the music within film, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it turns into this weird, crazy therapeutic experience if you want to try to view it from that angle. Because I definitely do also tie emotions to certain soundtracks and emotions to certain films where it's like there's a few movies I can't watch because of past experiences, or it's like I have to expose my exposure therapy or something to that thing.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, and then you have like if you were to take the soundtrack out of a movie, the emotional punch is left missing, so like big scenes in which, something happens or there's a climax without that soundtrack going along with it, it's hollow. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, you have like a partial product almost.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Ayla?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just kind of nodding in agreement. I definitely feel like sound has so much power, not just in like listening to it, but creating it too. And I just watched this like really funny TikTok video today, and the chick was saying like humans are really weird because we move our bodies to signal that we like the sounds that you're playing. I just was talking about dancing and how like, it does inspire movement. And one of my favorite bosses from years and years ago, if there was a song that came on the radio that he liked, he would start clapping his hands. And he was older, but it was just so sweet. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to kind of jam out a little bit. And what I like about the Greeks, or what I find interesting, is that they call attention to specific instruments as well. So like there was one point where he was talking about flute music and how they can heal the soul and bring catharsis mixed with pleasure. When you think flute music versus like a trombone, those are two very different feelings that you're going to get when you hear those sounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in conjunction with the fugue type pace in which the flute music is produced.
Yeah.
That's actually really important because there's something about the fugue sort of style that, like Mike was saying, it brings about focus because you don't know where it's going and you don't know exactly where the melody catches up to it. So it definitely keeps you kind of on the hook when you listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, interestingly, like I don't think I ever listened to fugue music, to be honest with you.
You could look up, and a lot of classical composers have a fugue or two. So you can always just kind of look that up on YouTube or online. I couldn't tell you who, but I'm sure Mozart has a fugue. I'm sure maybe Schubert does. There's lots of them out there. They're pretty interesting. I mean, not all of them are the same, but they all have that same sort of frantic kind of seems a little bit inaccurate. But do you know the song Flight of the Bumblebee?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, where it's like this very rapid pace, like, you know, like, so yeah, check it out. It's really interesting stuff.
Pretty dope. And so the Pythagoreans, I don't know if they were listening to you, but they employed a daily routine of music therapy. Music enjoyed prior to retiring at the end of the day helped them calm down and give them a good night's sleep with pleasant dreams. Whatever that means. Immediately on waking, they performed special compositions on the lyre, which helped them to shake off the reveries up from the night before and prepare for the intense rhythms of the day. It seems that the Pythagoreans had studied the relationship between musical rhythm and temperament and applied musical prescriptions according to their circumstances. Like, I could tell you that there's been a few times in my life where I need to get hype, and I've just thrown on a song and just like prepped myself for whatever intense thing was coming, or the intense thing that was coming. And it helps. Like, it gets you absolutely through it. You know, like,
yeah. Working out is I mean, music with a workout is essential. I mean, if you don't listen to music while you're working out, you're really not optimizing your workout.
No. And do you believe in magical songs? Do you have like bad luck songs or good luck songs or anything like that?
I believe in magical melodies for sure. I don't know about the lyrics. Lyrics can kind of be, you know, then we get into like, you know, the more modernistic take of magic, and I don't know necessarily, but there's ancient melodies, like Greensleeves is supposed to be a magical song. I don't know if you guys know that song.
No.
It's I couldn't recant it for you because I'm terrible at that, but if you look it up, it's called Greensleeves. It's an old English hymn, and you would know it as soon as you hear it, but it's considered a magical song because of the melody.
Very cool. Give it a look. Wait, nothing bad's going to happen, right? I'm not going to.
No curses or anything. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Thanks. I saw your trap.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just listen to it and then spin in circles 3 times.
So magical songs. The Greeks also had a thing on this too. Epidotes. Greek names are hard. The second type of curative songs were more like magical spells. The therapeutic use of epidotes is mentioned in the Odyssey, when the sons of Autolycus cure Odysseus' wounds with the use of a compass and a spell song. Spells found many uses. In addition to being used as medical cures, they healed heartbreak, tamed the forces of nature, and dispelled demonic elements. Tamed the forces of nature and dispelled demonic elements. The mythical figure of the sorcerer, bard, and prophet Orpheus is the embodiment of the power of music, and specifically the potency of the epode. Orpheus himself is able to move all types of objects with just epodes, from a lit torch to the ship Argo. Interestingly enough, if the whole world is vibrations, and you find a vibration to lift something.
Oh, yes. Then you get into cymatics, yeah.
Yeah. But were those like alien instruments?
I mean, honestly, I think that a lot of ancient humans used acoustic levitation, or understood acoustic levitation more than we do. A lot of their structures are based around it. I know that the Sun Pyramid in Mexico has that phenomenon that if you stand in front of it and clap, you'll hear the reverberations of the clap, but it's actually like 2 different harmonic frequencies that bounce back at you. Then that phenomenon alone indicates that the architects knew something about acoustics and perhaps utilizing acoustics to perform ritual or something else.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty cool. it's sad that we lost that knowledge, though, right? Like
Mhm.
if we can't lift things through vibration, or if it went underground, or whatever happened to it, is a bummer that like it seems like the only thing that humans are really good at is losing knowledge.
Yes, and we're excellent at that. Excellent at that. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think that we can lift things with sound, so it's possible. But the problem is that we use technology nowadays instead of human power. So I've seen diagrams of the way that it's hypothesized they used acoustics to lift things, and so you would think of it like a sheer rock face, and at the bottom there's a semicircle of people, and this is probably like 24 people, each with either a horn or a drum, mostly horns though. And what they would do is put the large thing that they want to levitate in front of the rock face, and in front of them, so it's between them and the rock face. And then in the semicircle that they would use these horns, and they would, over a long enough period of time, all get to a similar frequency that would levitate that object.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff.
So I can't take a barbershop quartet and do it.
You know, that would be pretty cool. But there is something about that harmonization, right? Like, because I feel it anytime, a barbershop quartet ends on their last note, or, they hit that harmony. There is something vibratory about it. And it's like you can hear all of the notes, but then it all converges into a new note that becomes like this super note. And I think that that's kind of like where the magic lies.
Yeah, I don't know if this is anywhere similar, but I've been playing a lot with like vaporwave type sounds. And there's something like amazing about not amazing, it's healing, I don't know what the word is, but you take like a song that's already made, you find the thing that you want, and just dropping it pitch and like slowing it down. But when it sounds aesthetically pleasing, there's just, maybe I'm just too new to the process, but there's something about it that's like, it like reverberates.
Oh yeah. Lowering the reverberation, or kind of like bringing, like if you think of sound as the waveform, you're loosening the peaks and valleys so that it's more of a rolling wave. And so yeah, you definitely can feel that. That's why people love bass so much. And yeah, for sure. And then conversely, if you have like, if you tighten those waves up and scrunch them together, you have this really high pitch frequency. Those are also beneficial for brain function.
Yeah, no, I can see that. There's that. Oh God, I forgot the YouTube channel. It's gonna kill me. But there's a guy who breaks down film soundtracks, like the original film scores, from a music theory point of view, and like talking about like how creating sounds in horror, you don't really want to fill the middle. You want like either 0 or 1. You just, because that lack of a middle just makes you feel uneasy.
Yes. Yeah. And offbeat. Normally we like to structure our music 4/4, so you get 1 2 3 4. Where in horror it would be better if it was more like 1/4, and it's like, rest 1 4, you know what I mean? Rest 3, rest 2, so yeah.
That little bit of randomness will help, because your brain can't find
unpredictability, not being able to find the pattern.
I got you. Well, I do have no, I think I'm good on this. I think I'm done with likes and sounds, and like this, like the idea that I find the idea of a theater as basically one large collective therapy place, or one large brainwashing place, however you want to look at it, the most interesting.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, right. You have the sound therapy, you have the light therapy, and it's all built in. It's just up to this crew of practitioners to make it effective.
That's why they call it movie magic, man. We call it Hollywood land. Holly is the wood that magic wands were made of.
Nice. Until there was a flood, and then the land fell out.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, like I said, I'm done. I'm all good with lights and sounds and sad. So if you're going through winter depression, maybe find a light box that might be able to help you out a little bit. Spend like an hour of it by a day. Make sure it's 10,000 lux.
And sing to a song.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That'll help for sure. Ayla, you got anything you want to say?
I mean, one little fun fact I learned recently is that when you're singing, and different types of songs, you have your oming, or even just I think it was like humming specifically. There's science to be said that humming and oming activates the vagus nerve, which actually can signal to your brain that you're in a relaxed state. And so
Mhm.
it gives you that weird biofeedback to kind of like enforce a relaxed attitude on top of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, like sometimes if you're not feeling so hot, just humming a little tune, just try to start humming, and you'll be kind of like, oh, I'm that person who's humming. But then you're like, actually, no, that's kind of a good song because you had to
It's
pick a good
soothing.
song to hum to. Mhm.
Yeah. And you get the throat chakra vibrating.
Yeah.
And if everything is vibration, then you bring yourself to the same vibration as the ambient energy in the place that you're in. That usually helps.
The I want to add one thing.
Mm.
It's a bummer that more people don't dance by themselves, like just when they're alone or singing to themselves in public. Like it's the weird shame thing, right? Like it's almost like the same thing of talking to yourself in public. It just looks crazy, right? I wonder if that adds more anxiety to us as a species because we're just not able to be humans.
I think there's a little bit of rigidity to it for sure. But I mean, like, that doesn't stop me from singing to myself by myself. I still do all the time. Yeah.
I was at the grocery store today, and the guy that was bagging things up, he was humming, and I looked at him and I said, "Are you humming?" And he goes, "Oh, I guess I am." I said, "That means you must be happy." It was just a cute little moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a little hum once in a while. I think that's a good one. Make sure you do your ohms too. Those are always good. Make sure when you're doing your ohms, you really try to vibrate your head as much as possible because that's what you're trying to do.
So I have a funny story about that. I one time with some friends said, "Hey, let's see about just meditating together and ohming." It's like a calm, boring night, and I was like, "Oh, let me just calm together." So a couple people started ohming first, and Nick was just sitting there quiet. And then it was really funny. It's like all of a sudden he came in with his like massive like it was because he's trying to vibrate his head, and I started giggling and I felt bad because I shouldn't have.
You guys were trying to be like all airy fairy about it, like like bringing it all really high, and I'm in there like, oh,
yeah, this is really funny.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it was like the ladies in the room. We were ohming first, and then all of a sudden Nick with his like super masculine ohm comes in. We're just like, damn, dude.
You have to do the Tuvan throat singing. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, actually, I just saw a video about what is it? Inuits. They were doing some of the like throat singing to each other, but it's very different because it's in response to another person, and I wonder to what extent the lore behind that it has to do with like you're vibing with somebody else.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, just those medieval hymns, those Gregorian hymns. If you're the more Catholic or Christian persuasion, those things are so good, dude. Like, to hear that in Latin by professional singers.
Latin mass, yeah. No, it is very beautiful for sure, especially in a cathedral where the sound reverberates everywhere, and you have this. Yeah, I mean, like all
Homer when he. Oh, go ahead.
It's just interesting that most places of worship have acoustics in mind when they're built, which is
you're right. And then like the organ. Like this massive instrument. Who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a piano," except it's gonna be like
5 stories tall.
5 stories tall.
Yeah.
Who the hell even made that up? What the hell?
It's pretty crazy.
We should do an exhibit about that. Origin
think-
of the organ.
I think about all the medieval art that got patronage, like all the crazy art, like all the cathedral stuff. There's strange times.
Oh,
The
yeah.
organ just
Yeah.
makes it stranger.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks, Mike. That was a great conversation. Very interesting topic.
Mhm.
And yeah, so thank you very much for bringing that to the table. We hope that you guys enjoyed as well. Please leave us some feedback if you have anything that you would like to ask us, any input or any criticism that you might have. Please feel free to just let us know. If you like this episode and you like what we do, please consider following us on Instagram and Facebook, and especially on YouTube, as we're trying to get to 20 subscribers. We are currently at 14, so hopefully we can get to 20 by Christmas. That's what I'm thinking. But please consider following us over there. YouTube.com/exofathom. We really appreciate it. Anytime you guys listen, we very much appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you to Ayla as well. And do we have anything else to add before we sign out?
I think I'm good.
Awesome. All right. Well, until next time, Cognonauts, you stay out there, and we will catch you on the next Exofathom. Good night.
Peace.
Later.